Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome
Sorry about the
to.
technical difficulties there.
We'll figure this out one day.
Yeah.
Um, but for now, wherever, whoever's here, we're just going to take a second to connect into our heart spaces. So let's just close our eyes down. You can put one hand over the heart, the other hand over that one if that feels good to you, right? Close the eyes down. Just noticing your breath. Right, not really doing anything per se, just noticing how you feel in this moment. And on your next inhale fully through the nose, filling the belly. And let's take a little pause at the top and then slowly exhale through the nose. We're going to do two more. Inhale through the nose, fill the belly. Pause. And slowly exhale. One more inhale, filling, expanding, taking up space. Pausing and slowly exhale. And stay here. And the easiest way to connect to the heart space is to bring in something you're grateful for in this very moment, right? It could be super simple, right? Your animal, a loved one, a color, like really simple, right? So, whatever you're grateful for in this very moment, just take a breath into that heart, breathe that in there. Breathe out through the mouth. Let's do one more inhale to that heart space. Exhale, sigh it out. And then slowly open the eyes. We'll come back into the space. I feel better.
I feel better.
So simple sometimes, right?
It just takes like
Yeah.
a minute or two even. So that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
nice reminder for everyone. So I hope everyone's doing well today. And yeah, Brian, how are you? We haven't talked in a while. What's going on with you? Is there anything, right, that is on your mind or that you've been struggling with or that you like have a big win about, or
Yeah.
both?
Yeah, I think that it feels like there's usually always like a win and a loss usually, so it's like it's easier to focus on the losses for me personally because it's just like I don't know, it's hard for me to celebrate like the positives because I'm like,
Mm,
oh, if it's positive and then maybe I'm scared because at some point it'll go away and it's like kind of like fearful. But
mhm,
I think something that I want to focus on is even taking it back to that practice that we just did with
hmm,
me struggling with giving me like a minute,
mm,
2 minutes, 3 minutes. You've completely like um been so vulnerable and gave me all these practices and taught me like how I um can deal with loss and deal with like depression and stress and happiness and all these things and not ride that emotional
mm,
roller coaster, but more really be able to just quiet the mind and bring awareness and so I don't react
mhm,
with my past self and jump right into these feelings that are not how I want to deal with the current situation. And I guess just bringing attention to me not giving myself that time as of late.
mm,
uh,
mhm,
I was really good at keeping my practices at a consistent pace, and lately with work, the new job, the the new ventures that we're on, our new journey, we're just I'm struggling with giving myself that time.
Mm. Mhm.
Even like you just said, giving myself that little time right there,
Mhm.
it was nice.
Right? It's like we did that for all of, I don't, maybe a minute or so, right? Or 2 minutes, say, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I felt the difference, right? And you felt the difference, and it's that thing where we like I'm just laughing because I'm like, now I'm like hearing all the different people say the same thing of like, okay, I had the routine, right? I was like regularly, like you said, like meditating, giving myself like the space to
Yeah.
just like be with everything so that we essentially are connecting to that heart space. So when we connect to that heart
Mhm.
space, we're moving out of that lower mind or that past, right? Our past selves in a sense where we may just start to react, right? So when we don't give ourselves that time to like breathe or meditate, right? Or just walk outside in nature and we're like, go, 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 right? Like I feel like I have no time and da 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 da. Da. And it's like that minute you feel that I have no time, that's a huge sign to
Mm,
stop and just do what we just did. 3 breaths. Take 1 breath, right? Even 1 breath, right? But 3 breaths really helps our nervous system calm down. We get less into that fight, flight, or freeze or fawn, right? We start to get into the space of where we feel safe and we're less reactive. Everything's okay right here, right?
right.
Um, and I know when I have a couple people actually recently in the last 2 months, including myself, including you, including like 4 or 5 other people I know that have something, they've had a shift in their work, in their child going to school, whatever, right? There's been some change.
Yeah.
So the morning routine or whatever routine they had to change it. And then it kind of disappeared, right? Like, oh, I don't have time for my whatever you were doing, right? My
Yeah.
15 minutes, my 20 minutes, my whatever minutes. Um, and or right, my walk or whatever your thing is. And so they're like, "Oh, I just won't do it at all." And I'm like, "Okay, you could still do something regularly and just commit 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, right? Like whatever you're like, okay, I could do a minute, right?
Yeah.
Commit, like start small. Like don't start at your 20 or whatever you were doing, right? Just be like, I have the amount of time it takes for me to take 3 deep breaths. That's all I have time for, right?
Yeah.
Then just do that every day and you'll notice you'll have time to sit there longer. Or you'll notice that throughout your day, you feel like you have more time,
Mm, yeah.
right? Like I've gone through periods where stuff is changing or I'm traveling and I'm like, and I don't meditate and I'm like, oh my God, that day I feel like I have no time. I'm like super reactive. And eventually I kind of am like, oh, this is funny. I didn't give myself that time this morning. So I'm just going to take 3 deep breaths because I don't have, right, time.
Yeah.
But we have to make time, and it's important for us to make that time, right? Because when we make that time, everything else just is better.
It slows down. Yeah.
It
For
slows
sure.
down, we're less reactive. We
Yeah.
could find, even if it's just like come to some one thing you're grateful for, right?
Mhm.
Again, that's the easiest way into our heart space is that being grateful.
Mm,
We all have something we could be grateful for.
yeah.
Every person, right?
Yeah.
It'll vary. um, and that's really like the biggest or best advice I could give in that. And I've been there. And I've been like, oh, well, if I can't do my 20 minutes, then like I don't. And it's like
Right, because that's how my mindset
I
works, so
have
it's
to do
like
it.
yeah, I'm like, "Oh, if I can't do the 20 minutes, I'm not doing it."
Mhm.
But
Yep.
it's like and it's like some OCD, I don't know where that lies and, like, what's going on in me, but there's that, like, so hard on myself from, like, if I'm not meeting my
Mhm,
goal, then I'm not doing it. Where it's like,
mhm,
"Whoa, whoa, whoa," like,
mhm,
still, like you said, you can work up to that goal again, and
mhm,
you're gonna realize, like you said, you have more time to do
mhm,
it, and,
mhm.
um and yeah, then you all of a sudden realize that like now I realize like, wow, that's why I've been acting the way I have been acting, which is like,
Right.
how I was acting on like, not like the last path I was on, but on this reactive path that like,
You
you
like reverted or right in a sense. You went back to like the old lower mind.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not like doing these things that I was
Mhm.
doing to get
Yeah.
away from myself because obviously that's what I was doing in the past was like, okay, let me go
Mhm,
drink, let me go do this to like disconnect so I don't feel
mhm,
like how I've been feeling.
mhm.
So great, I'm not doing that, but instead now I'm like reactive, I'm getting in unnecessary
Yes.
arguments. Now I feel like and I've talked to you about this a ton, and maybe I've even mentioned it here, and I'm sure some people could relate, but I get a feeling of like I get into this dark kind of like cloud, and I'm sure people that know me have maybe seen it in me sometimes where it's
Mhm,
like I just it's like heavy, it feels heavy.
mhm,
It's like a very heavy figure or like
mhm.
feeling of me just like down and my head's down, almost feel it. It's like that feeling of like when you I heard this the other day and I related to it was like that feeling of holding back like when I want to cry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It feels like that, and I definitely feel it in my throat, like a lot of that feeling. It's just my
Mhm,
voice and stuff like that too. But it has to do with me not giving myself that time because when I was giving myself that time, that would still
mhm,
happen every 1 or 2 months, or once every
mhm,
other month or
mhm,
whatever. But now it's been happening like every day almost, where I'm getting into like this dark cloud, and I'm like, oh my god, and I can't get out of it. And no matter what I do, it's like I can get out of it, but I'm not giving myself the
right.
time to be able to get out of it. And like you said earlier, I'm not even like letting myself be aware that it's happening. Because if I'm not letting myself be aware of what's actually going on, then I'm just pushing it away. And there's this like disconnect where now I'm completely disconnected from my human body, from my higher self. And now I'm just like sitting on the couch in like a very dark way. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. And then I wake up in the morning and I feel fine because I've
And you right. So there's this whole thing which I've spoken to before of like, so before you started there's like, let's just call that part of you Brian before meditation. Okay, just to make it easy. So that part of you, right? That was something that a way you lived for like 20 something years. Okay.
yeah,
So that pathway is very is that's like a clear pathway, right?
yeah,
So now your new pathway that you started, right, is like a side trail. You know, when you're walking on a path and it's like, this is the path. And then you see all these little paths off to the side. So
yeah,
that's kind of like you were like, oh, I'm going to go over here and check this out. And
right.
then, but what's happening is you went over here and now you came back here.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Super common. Everyone does it
Yeah,
because we're creating these different pathways, but some of them are more clear and open because we walked them so many times,
right. It's
right?
comfortable, like,
And it's our being just goes whoop.
yeah,
Okay, so like yes, that happens, and a lot of us get down on ourselves. What we have to remember is like what you just said, but you didn't like really, or you could have chosen to stop and go, oh, I used to go do X, Y, and Z, right?
yeah,
Drinking, drugs, blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
dissociating, whatever it was. And instead, now I don't do that. But yes, I go into this like dark place and I'm an asshole to myself and whoever,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But it's like there's a win there too.
yeah,
That's
for
that's
sure,
that's growth, right? So it's like when
totally.
we come to these places, it's nice to have someone remind us of that because it's like, oh right, like you're human. right?
Yeah.
You're forging new paths.
Yeah.
And it got a little fucking overgrown. Sorry for cursing, but
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
it got a little overgrown, so now
Yeah.
you just have to go back in and, like, start pruning back that path and, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
don't other times too, like, doing the slowly getting back into, right? Like, I
Mhm.
meditate I try to, right? Mostly 20 minutes every day. That is not stressful for me, that's something I could do, it feels good. Sometimes I'll sit there for longer, right?
Yeah.
Other times I'm like, "Okay, like, I didn't get up early enough, whatever happens," right?
Yeah.
Like, my life has changed a lot right now, I can't just let my dogs outside, I have to, like, go take care of them first,
Right.
and I have to take care of myself, and sometimes I have a client and, like, all this stuff, so it's like, oh, I only have 10 minutes," and it's like, I'm gonna do that 10 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
'Cause you
And
know
then
that,
yeah,
like, you know what it is without that 10
I
minutes.
know.
You've been doing it long enough too to,
Yes.
like, realize, like, "Okay, something needs to happen here."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's, like, just remembering to take a breath, and that's, like for me, it's really fun to do these things or talk even, like, talking to friends or people, it's like, oh, we remind each other, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's part of it. It's like having that network and that support, and you're gonna keep going like this, but you're gonna veer off the path and it's not gonna take as long, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And then
And
eventually it's just
yeah.
once a month here and there. You know what I mean? That you're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't have time today," or whatever was crazy, or you know what? Like like I said, when you get home and you turn that car off, take 3 breaths before you walk in the house.
yeah. That was very, like, that was a gem that you gave me because, again, it's one of those things. I don't have time. It's like, yeah, bro, there's time all around you.
Yeah.
There's time, but yeah, you're not even realizing it because you're so caught up in rush, 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 rush. Yeah.
And I love telling people to play with the idea of how about telling yourself there is time? Even, right? You feel like there's no time, just be like, "Okay, there is time. There is
Mhm.
time. There is going to be" like, see what happens,
Mhm.
you
There's
know?
always time. There's time. Like, that's like, when I start talking about it, I start feeling myself make, like, some excuses and stuff, which is fine, I get it, but I don't wanna
Right.
be hard on myself. I
No.
am right now in this period of time, but when I'm realizing it, I don't wanna be hard on myself because, that doesn't get me anywhere where I
Right.
wanna be, but still, like, noticing, like, yeah, it is some excuses that I really gotta just, "Hey, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
Mhm.
just give myself. I know the practice, I know how
Mhm.
long it could take, even if I do it minimally, and I
Yeah.
know what that effect is gonna have, and it's gonna be way better than
Right.
if I wasn't gonna do any." Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
And it really helps us come out of that, like, that reactive state, you know?
Yeah, I just feel like if so many more people, if we all were able to, like, just give that a try and be giving ourselves a little bit of that time, it goes back to just filling yourself up with that energy so you can show up in the world
Yeah.
and really be able to be there for someone, which is what I want to do. Like, I want to be able to not have to go out and try to take to fill me
Mhm.
up. I want to be able to give and, like, you know so,
Right, and, like, in order or I feel, right, in order to be, like, the best person I can, I have to take care of myself first and fill my cup, right? And give to people who I know are open to receiving,
yeah,
right?
facts.
That's another thing is sometimes we wanna help or give to the people that, like, there's a wall and we're trying to break through that wall and it's just like let me save some of that for someone
Yeah,
who's gonna accept it and like yeah I'm still here for that person but it's like
yeah,
I'm gonna preserve that energy too, right?
yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's really important for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that, being being who I am, I feel like I'm very like, oh, I'm not where I need to be. And that is something that I've talked about all the
Mm.
time. And we're all talking about, I mean, a lot of people feel that same way, but
Mhm.
I'm right where I need to be. I understand that that's what, you know, that's the truth. But I get caught in this, oh, if I'm not meditating, I'm not reading, I'm not writing down in my journal, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, but I'm also not going out, I'm not hanging out with friends, I'm not
Right,
like,
like, what are you do right? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we get really focused on, like, "I'm not doing this, I'm not doing enough,"
But what are
and
you doing? Yeah,
it's
see?
like, "Well, what am I doing?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, I make it simple for myself because I go down that too, man. Like, I just went down it the other day, and my friend's like, "What let's stop for a second," and they're like, "What's meant to happen is gonna happen." Like,
Yeah.
that's it, right? And it's like, you're making yourself available to receive messages, right, of, like, how the universe wants to move through me or, like, where I'm s right? Like, listen to my body. Like, our
Mhm.
body I think of the body as like a compass, okay?
Yeah.
So, a lot of people, right, are familiar with the phrase, like, a gut feeling. That's a very familiar thing for people, I feel like a lot of people could understand that. And it's like, right, you had a gut feeling. I, like, literally walked into a place the other day, and I thought I was gonna puke. And I was like, "Oh, this is, like, not where I'm supposed to be. This is, like, cool. Like, I don't this is not part of my future." That's
Yeah.
simple,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, "Oh my god, I feel nauseous. What's happening?" And then I
Yeah.
go outside and I'm like, "I feel better." Like, right? So it's
Mm.
take it or leave it, right? Like, if that
Yeah.
doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate, but we have an internal compass, right?
Yeah.
And if we're for like, we talked about this the other day, like, it's not about forcing something because we want it so bad,
Mm.
right? Because
Mhm.
when we're in that forcing and forcing, maybe it's not the time for said whatever thing, right?
Yeah.
Or experience in our lives. And it's like, I'm not talking about sitting back and not taking action. I'm talking about like really being in tune with how you're feeling about whatever's happening. Does it feel good? Do
Yeah.
you feel at ease? Right?
Mm.
Do you feel anxious? Right? And these things tell us stuff about whatever direction we're moving in.
Yeah.
And sometimes we choose the thing that maybe it wasn't the best thing, and there's a lesson there, and we do it, and then we come back on the path, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the universe opens in a different way. Um, and that's another part of giving yourself even just 3 breaths. How
Yeah.
do I feel right now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just it's like a baseline too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what if okay, this feels good to be in gratitude and in this heart space. And then right throughout our day, we're like, rah!
Yeah.
We're like, oh wait. Like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that's hard to believe sometimes. I mean, trust me, I know that. But whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? I really only have control of the way I react or I act in a situation.
Right.
Like I can't control anything but myself and my actions and reactions in this world.
And that's huge, is realizing that, because I think that's, I even know some buddies of mine and me go through that of like, hey, we really need to take care of ourselves
Mhm,
before we're like, you know, re like that is really important, because all we want to do is just be able to like not fix, but like just be there for people, be, oh, like, I'm just like, take me where you want to go, right?
mhm,
Oh, like, take me there and take me there and take me there and
mhm,
take me on this roller coaster of whatever you're going on, like.
mhm,
But really it's like, yo, I have control over the situation of what I want to do in this, and
mhm,
that takes a lot of power to do
mhm.
that, and to get to not go with, like, to follow and to, like, to
Right.
do what's good for you, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
that can take you down all sorts of bad paths if you don't, you know? You go, "Oh,
Mhm.
he's doing that, I'll do that," or "He's doing that." It's like, but how does
Yeah.
that go inside of you? And
Right.
once you really get to the point of making sure, like, you're giving yourself that awareness of what you need and what you want,
Mhm.
the game changes. It's like
Yeah.
people around you start change, like, everything just changes. Like,
Mhm.
things that come into your life are meant to come into your life
Mhm.
for your journey and your path, not because you feel like you're floating and you're lost and you're just going along with
Mhm.
what everyone else is doing. And
Mhm.
that, like, you've taught me that heavily, is just stay in that center, that grounded. And, you know, like you said, if you walk in somewhere it doesn't feel good, like, you have the choice, the control
Mhm.
to react or to act to get out of that situation.
Mhm.
But a lot of people, and including me, it's easy to just stay in
Mhm.
there, because if you speak up, they might make fun of you. Or if you speak up,
Right.
they might be like, "Oh, he's this, or he's being like this."
Right.
And that now it's becoming, "Oh, now what are they thinking about me?" So now I'm gonna do
Right.
whatever they are to please them. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, no one's really thinking about you that much. Like, no one's real, like, it's more in your head, you know, more than
Yes.
anything. It's
Yes.
like, "Okay,
Yeah.
bro, like, you're not that important though, right? Like, come on, like, you do whatever you need to do to be happy." Is the people
Yeah.
that I'm surrounding myself with. So
Yeah.
when I'm surrounding myself with those people, but I'm tripping my own self out, that's me
Mhm.
putting that on them, which is not good either. Because it's like, dude,
Mhm.
what are you doing
Yeah.
here?
And,
Yeah,
like, right, moving through, like you're saying, is like what serves you may not serve someone else,
yeah,
right?
right,
And, like, it's so interesting because sometimes I think a lot of people do this as because we're humans, right? Is like, "Oh, you should be doing this."
right, yeah,
And it's like, they should be doing what is serving them,
yeah.
right? Because their diet might not serve me.
That's the thing, right? Diet's a huge, big example of that. Yeah,
Uh-huh. And
sure.
I'm not gonna force my way of eating on
Yeah,
anyone
yeah,
or convince them that they should eat a certain way
right.
because this is just what serves me, right?
Yep.
And that's okay. And this is what serves this person, and that's okay,
Yeah,
right? Um, moving away from like the good and the bad. This is good for you and this is bad for you. Well, this may not
exactly.
serve this person, right? Like we could
Yeah,
break it down to something, a simple example of like this person's allergic to shellfish and this person isn't,
yeah,
right? So it's
totally.
like just really kind of moving into that space of like we're all trying to do the best we can.
Yeah,
Right? And like some people are open to different things and some people aren't. And sometimes it's scary, like you said,
yeah,
right? Sometimes it's uncomfortable.
yeah.
But it's like you knew where that other path was leading you.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't serving you anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
And
And that's okay.
it's totally okay. It's now like, it's now finding, like, you know, where do I fit in the new path, right?
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
I built so much identity in the last path, you know, like, that last path was, like, that was it, like, that's all I knew. So now that
mhm,
I'm in this new path, it's different, it's changed, it's scary, and it's like,
mhm,
I'm not as, like, it's a little like, "Oh, where do I show up in this
mhm,
way?" And it's great, but it's about, you know, like, refinding the me that was always there, right? Like, I've
yes,
always been who I
yeah,
am, but I
mhm.
just kinda lost sense of that. And now I'm like, but it's trippy because it's like, "Well, wow, was that the me?" And now, like, oh, well, you know, like,
Oh, man, that was a big thing in the teacher training I led because, like,
oh,
part of
really?
the teacher training is going in to the Yoga Sutras, which like talks about all this stuff, right, on like a similar level, but it's
Yeah.
like, the ego versus the self, and it was super intense, and a lot of us were exhausted those days, but it's really interesting because we're very attached to these, right? I'm a mom, I'm an artist, I'm a blah 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 blah, and it's like
Yeah.
you're a soul living a human experience,
And
right?
it's constantly changing too.
Yes. And it's always, and that's like, change is part of evolution. Okay.
Yes.
So like if we're not changing, we're like kind of like stagnant and like
Mhm.
stuck. So change equals evolution, right? Um
Yes.
oh, I had something and it just went away. It was like right there. I was like, "Ah, it's gone." Um oh yeah, that's what I want to do. So
And
I feel like a lot of people could resonate with that, like whoever is listening. And we're gonna, I'm gonna start putting these recordings up.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna do an
So
Insta page and all
we'll
stuff.
like put the link in our social medias when they're up and all that stuff. So look out for them, or you'll figure it out. Or contact us,
Yeah.
whatever. Because I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
right now is a good point to like kind of stop on that note, and for whoever is still listening and whoever watches the replay is like, let's just close the eyes. I'm going to lead us through this like super short, like simple, like meditation ish sort of situation. I don't want meditation,
Great.
not meditation. I don't know. Anyway, so just close the eyes down, right? Come back to noticing your breath, right? Rooting down through your sits bones, drawing your spine tall. Start to deepen the breath, just at your own pace, inhaling fully into your belly and exhaling out of the nose. And this time, inhale into your heart, exhale out of the mouth. Keep the eyes closed. Right. And in this moment, to yourself, just asking, right, divine source, universe, whatever you believe in, just saying or aligning to receiving and being open to how the universe wants to flow and work through you. Being open to being curious about those coincidences, those little things that happen that kind of spark something inside of you, right? Excitement, joy. Just start being open, right? Just keep breathing normal. Just bringing some gratitude now in this moment, right? Maybe thanking universe, divine, whatever it is that you believe in, right? Thanking Mother Earth. Let's just take a big breath into the heart space once again. Open the mouth, exhale. And just thanking yourself. And slowly open your eyes, right? So you could play with that practice or idea of just like, I'm open to receiving, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you want to work through me if you're feeling lost in that way, right?
Mm.
And
I like
yeah,
that.
and it's something I come to regularly.
I think that practice is gonna be really useful.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like as we were talking, it was like right? The universe was like, "We go this way, go this direction." Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm practicing more of being open to receiving and not holding back, which has taken practice, right?
Yeah, oh, I'm
So it's just
sure.
like practice and practice with people you're comfortable with, right? That's kind of why we're doing this because we're comfortable with each other. So like the part that's uncomfortable starts to kind of dissolve.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I really like that. I think that we're gonna put this on social
Thanks.
media and make it replay. Yeah.
We're creating like a whole new like I want to say a new line. No, like a new page and whatever, but I'll put it on my YouTube for now and we could share it.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, we could just I'll clip. Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll talk.
All right, everyone, thank you for
Okay.
joining and
Yes, thank you. Let me know.
reach out to us about anything.
Please. Yeah, reach out to us. My DMs are open. We're same
Mhm.
with Monique's. Um, Monique is like my life coach basically. So she is here for me and just reach
Mhm.
out to us if you guys need anything and are trying to get some clarity on
Yeah,
something
or
or
you're like, "Can you
um,
guys talk about this?"
yeah, exactly. Or we tune you in and you could talk and we
Yes.
can talk to you and next thing you know now like
Yes,
community. So
exactly. That's another big part of this is community.
yes, exactly. That's what we're
Thank
doing
you
here.
for
So
reminding us.
yeah.
All right, everyone. Much love.
Okay. Good night. Good night.